All right, hey guys, Jason here. What we're going to be talking about today, we're going to cover here is using different oil in your engines. We hear this more and more. We're about to do an oil change right now, just cracking things open for air venting so I can get under there. But as I do this, I'm going to talk about it a little bit as far as should you be running a heavier weight oil in your truck with these issues. We know GM has got the problem with the 6.2s. We've heard the lifter issues with the 5.3s. We're hearing some very small number, but some of the cam and roller rocker lifter or issues for the Pentastar. People are talking about putting heavier weight oil in. GM, even one of their fixes was to go to a from a 0 weight 20 or a 0W20 weight to a 0W40 weight for the 6.2. Should you consider doing that kind of stuff? That's what we want to talk. Oh, I'm getting drips on my pad from the truck. It's been raining. But we want to talk about that real quick and see what the smartest thing for you to do is, and if you should be changing your oil to a heavier weight. And that's what we want to cover. Hold on, let me hit this nut here. But the reality factor of this, the part that we got to keep in mind and consider is, I'm stuck, hold on, there we go. There was a time back in the day when we looked at this stuff and we took these things into consideration. Motors were much simpler. Okay, the design and function of an engine was a lot easier than what it is today. Today, these things are very complicated with technology, including active fuel management systems and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of these systems require, they basically run for the most part on oil. They need your oil to be able to flow through the lifters and flow through things like that. And if we go changing that stuff, how do we know what that's going to affect your other systems other than just your engine oil? How's it going to affect the active fuel management systems and the things like that that are in these today? What's it going to do for you? That is the consideration that we need to look at on a level here. And only, you know, we don't know the answers to that. That's why manufacturers recommend specific oils for your vehicle, is because it all works as a conjunction in a fluid system. If you change that, what's it going to do to your other things? We know for a fact that even like Ram, when Ram switched over the Cummins, I learned this stuff from watching Getty Garage. He's the one who did a video on this. But when you switched that Cummins over, when they were originally a 15 weight oil, which is what they were for a long time, then they went to hydraulic lifters. And if you use, they recommended going to 10 weight oil. And if you used the 15 in there, then what they were telling you is that you could very well damage your valve train on that by doing that. So there's a lot of people talking in the forums and online and in the comments on my channel about how they are considering switching their oil to a higher viscosity oil so they don't have to deal with any of these issues that are oil related. And it makes sense. Sorry, I don't want my mic wrapping there. And it makes perfect sense, and I like the idea and I like the concept, and maybe on certain motors you can get away with it. You have to decide that for yourself though, and figure out and know whether it's a smart choice or not a smart choice, if it's a good move or not. I don't have an answer for that. And again, it's vehicle specific. It is not literally a blanket statement or option that you can do. So I'm not sure what the right way to go about that is, or how to even put that into perspective, or what we even want to say on that, other than I'm sticking with what manufacturers recommend. That's what I'm personally going to do. That is my opinion and my assumption as the best solution for me is going to be to do that, then rather than deal with having to worry. Hang on, let me give my little spike here. There we go. Having to worry about, you know, anything else, you know, being impacted that I'm not aware of down the road. So again, to each your own on that. We see a lot of people talking about doing it, and there's a lot of people saying, I've been running this kind of oil for so long, and I never had a problem, and that may be true. However, even if you look at this engine here, think about how many people there are running this engine now that running stock oil in it kind of thing. Can I get any oil out of there? Yep, a little bit right there for my things. But that are running these stock oil, recommended oil in it that are not having any problems. Remember, it's a very, very small portion of people that are experiencing any of these. Doesn't matter if it's the GM 5.3, the 6.2, doesn't matter if it's this particular engine here. It doesn't matter what it is. There's a very low number of actual real problems that are happening. So but we don't know the actual real effect of what would happen if we were to put a different brand, or I mean different viscosity oil in, if that would impact or affect something differently. That's the question you have to ask for yourself. Me personally, I'm not changing it. I'm not doing nothing different. I am basically keeping with manufactured recommended and staying with stock. I have an extended warranty, and that warranty will cover anything that does happen to any of these kind of things. So that is my take and my opinion on it. I'm not playing those games. I'm not doing that kind of stuff. You know, they put these numbers in here for a reason. With that said, I do believe that the oil viscosity levels are our biggest problem. They're the problem with all engines today. Sorry, you might hear a little mic bump there, but I'm a short guy, and this thing's on 35s. Takes a little bit for me to get up into here, but I personally am not a fan of the oils that are being used today. I think they're a joke. I think they're a mistake, and I think they are the root cause of 99% of the problems that people are having with their vehicles, without fail. I 100% agree and believe that. But again, we have to work within the parameters we are given. These engines today, in my opinion, are designed to work within the parameters of the recommended stuff that they're given for them as well, too. So my sense on that is, if you're thinking about changing that stuff, I would recommend it with a little bit of caution. I don't think it's a bad idea, but I can't, in all honesty, tell you that it's a good one either. Like I said, you know, when I was a mechanic, which I used to be an ASE certified mechanic, but we're talking back in the days when you used to replace distributor caps and rotors every time you did a spark plug change. And the last seminar I went to, you know, as part of my ASE certification, was when ABS brake systems were coming out, and they were teaching us how to work on the ABS system. So that tells you how long ago it's been since I played around with any of that engine crap. You know, on a professional kind of level. So it's been a very, very, very long time. So, and they have changed so much today. Today, these things are laptops, and everything is controlled by a computer, and everything is designed to work within a specific, there we go, parameter. And I am not convinced that, that the way those systems are, that they're capable of handling that lifeline, that bloodline life change of the oil that's currently being used to something that is thicker without having any implications. They might, we don't know, I don't know. The internet is filled with people that say they know and say they've been doing this stuff, but realistically, my advice, stick with what the manufacturer recommends. That's my advice to you in what I think is the smartest thing to do, and that is exactly what I personally am going to do. However, like I said, I can see where going the other way would make a lot of sense too, and put you guys on a track for, you know, give you that peace of mind and not having to worry about things going bad for you. And the fact that, like I said, these, I do believe this right here, these stupid EPA oil requirements are the biggest battle we have today. And the biggest problem with every single brand out there is related to trying to save 2 miles per gallon by thinning everything out and making them run this bad, making everything run on such a short leash of, you know, a thin window of reliability. Same with our grocery stores today and all that stuff. Everything is have it ready today. Okay, nothing is, you know, everybody goes out and buys their groceries 3 or 4 times a week now, rather than used to be where you took a trip into town once a month. You know, times have changed, things have changed, and I don't think it's for the better. And this is just another example of that. They don't care what happens to these engines when they got 200,000 miles on them. It's not their problem then, they don't care one bit. But they do have to compete with and deal with the EPA regulations, all of this kind of stuff that they got to mess with and deal with. And it's a disgusting thing is what it is. It's just an absolute, it's a mess is what it is. I mean, there's no easy way to put that other than it sucks. But we are the ones that ultimately pay the price, because warranty will not cover you if they find out, and you will be left hanging. And again, with the way these systems are today, I don't know if there's a way for warranty to be able to identify that and know. But if you're, you know, if your active fuel management system goes down or has a problem, and they can relate it to the fact that there was oil starvation because you used too thick of oil in there, Now they're not going to cover that under warranty either. So there's a lot of things that have to be taken into consideration here that you have to weigh those decisions for yourself. And you're hearing a lot of it, like I said, in forums. You're hearing a lot of it on my comments on people that are going to do this and what's happening. My opinion, I would ride it out on factory stuff and just keep the warranty. That's what I'm doing. But I can go both ways on this. I really can. I mean, I'm using exactly what they say to use. This is what I use. Okay, OW20. Would I prefer this to say OW40? Yes, 1000%. 5W30, be super happy with it. 5W30 I think would be perfect for this motor, in my opinion. And again, the motor would love it. Everything else, though, that runs as part of that system, we're not sure on. And we can't answer that. That's something for engineers and techs and people that know this stuff and see the real-world examples of that. And I'm hoping and sure that they tested some of that. So the reality is there, maybe somewhere, but we don't know it. And this is what they say to use. This is what I'm going to continue to use for these reasons. If we were going back 30 years ago where, like I said, it was basically a V6 or a V8 with a metal fan and distributor caps and rotors and life was easy and there was no active, fuel management, no cylinder deactivation and none of this kind of stuff that was happening in here, none of this computer controlled everything and all these electronics and sensors, I would probably switch this out myself to a 5W30. And there's going to be a bunch of people that comment in here and say, well, I already did it and it works fantastic. Great, that's good news and I like hearing that and that's fantastic. Me personally, especially while I'm under warranty, I'm sticking with what manufacturers recommend. My 2 cents, take it for what it's worth. Thanks for watching.